Well, here it is, guys. I've been got a few inquiries. Got a 2000 or MY 2000 P38 Range Rover HSE, originally fitted with a 4.6 litre engine until the thing blew up, overheated, cooked it because of a dodgy little connection that was here. Obviously a different radiator though. So this started off as a Bosch fuel injected 4.6. It's now fitted with a 5 litre Ford V8, a Windsor small block. Hey mate, and you got dusted up by another Tomcat today. So anyway, what have we got here? This is a 99 model Ford AU Fairlane / Falcon, otherwise known as an Explorer 5 litre V8, with the intake turned around to suit the Australian cars. Ford alternator, Ford fuel injection, Ford hoses, obviously cut down to suit the Land Rover radiator, Ford intake hose, Ford throttle positioning sensor, Land Rover AC compressor and power steering pump, Land Rover air filter housing, and you'll see you've got a Land Rover mass airflow and a Ford mass airflow. Everything like the EAS and the AC, everything works as it should. I've still got the Land Rover ECU plugged in, and I've got the Ford one hiding where the old Gems ECU hides. How I did it? Good question. What I end up doing, and I'll put a series of photos as I'm talking here, but basically what I ended up doing was adapting the ZF transmission to suit a Ford AU Falcon automatic bell housing, and I used the Land Rover or ZF transmission with the torque converter, and made everything fit inside. Had to do a lot of grinding and welding, but nevertheless, got it going. Made an adapter kit through my mate who's got a CNC machine mill, and I gave him the drawings and he machined everything out for me. So nothing that a machine shop or anybody that's a machinist or a handyman can't do anyway. So I made my own. In addition to that, I made my own bell. Engine mounts, which used the Land Rover. You can see that one's cracked. Used the original Land Rover engine mounts. Whoops. With the Ford. Made some engine mounts to adapt that to the Ford engine. I didn't have to relocate the Ford V8's oil filter. It's actually in a better spot than the Land Rover one. Everything else, those extractors are off a Mustang, just off the shelf, and also using a Fox body 85 to 93 Mustang sump, which is like a rear drop sump for this engine. So what I ended up doing was putting a Gems spec radiator in it, running a Disco 2 / P38 Bosch viscous fan, which bolts straight up the Ford water pump, and I made a custom fiberglass shroud, so it all sucks in the air. Now, very importantly, to wake this whole Land Rover setup up, I had to run a 60 tooth wheel -2 as per Bosch on the crank, and I used the original Thor crank angle sensor, which is on that custom bracket there. and it picks up beautifully. No problem whatsoever. Really good resolution. To drive the automatic, I've got the Land Rover computer over there, feeds a CAN bus signal to the transmission computer, so it's got a throttle positioning sensor signal from this. It's still got the mass airflow to measure load, and obviously revs from the Land Rover crank sensor, and that's enough to drive the transmission and to tell the transmission what to do most of the time, and I'll get to that later. Also for the gauge on the dash, I'm running a Land Rover water temp sensor and it's got separate wires for the gauge and for the Thor's ECU over there. You can see I haven't hooked up the cruise control yet. I've got the cable, just got to figure out a way of doing it. I haven't got to that stage yet. What else is there? Oh yeah, these suckers here, they bolt onto the head via the Land Rover mount, and a couple of 20mm, or one, what are they, 20mm times 2, so 40mm altogether, which are bolted onto the head, and that brings the serpentine, brings it out the correct way, the correct alignment rather. It is a little bit out, as you can see. This is a 6pk. Land Rover's run an 8pk serpentine belt, so but it runs a 6. It's fine. Haven't any dramas. Or the Ford ECU has its own relay and fuse. The fuel pump, it's got its own fuel pump. The coils are driven off the Land Rover circuit in here, which I had to intercept through all these little plugs down on the bottom here, and also there's a great big BMW style plug there. The Ford gets a signal off the Land Rover's speed sensor to stop it from idle issues and when you back off the throttle at speed, it doesn't drop out. What else is there? There's heaps of stuff, but that's the main sort of thing. The Ford obviously runs its own engine management, and it basically only needs a speed sensor, battery, earth, and ignition. That's all it needs. So you just run your obviously your battery goes to the starter, and I've got another one to the alternator. This here, I'll get to that on another thing. That runs, I've got a system inside the car that can talk to this. But yeah, so if anybody tried to break into the car, it wouldn't start because it's all tied in with the Land Rover immobiliser. But it's essentially standalone anyway. It gets most of its feeds, or some of its feed, the coil at least, from the Land Rover. Yeah, I'll fire it up. So before I fire it up, I'll show you underneath. As you can see, it's called a Land Rover disease, but I've got a leak in what do you call it, steering damper. But you can sort of see the rear drop sump, and yeah, you can't really tell. But anyway, still running the standard airbag suspension, so no problems there. And a full custom 2¼ dual 2¼ inch system. It's pretty muddy under here. I do take it off road. So this runs the a dual 2¼ inch system, which merges into a single 2½, which goes out the side via a 2½ inch muffler exhaust. Oops. Now I'll fire it up. I had a misadventure. The guard's missing off here. I've still got it in the back of the car. Yeah, as you can see, it's got plenty of bark. It's got some bite too. It's a relocated OBD sensor. That should be a must for every P38 owner. The AC develops a lot of condensation, which then drips onto that and kills every single time you try and plug something in it and melts ports. So yeah, that's it. I'll put up another video soon. Stay tuned.